Hello, welcome to our class, my dear listeners. I know you have had a busy day. You have had classes, you have had a tiring schedule, but thank you that you are here. Thank you for joining this class. I promise that I'm not going to take long. Some of you want to go and prepare their supper, others will want to go and join. I'm sorry, my microphone is away. I think you may not be getting me properly. Let me fix it, and after that, we can continue. Now, I started by thanking you people for having joined the class and also that you had a very busy schedule. I know that. I know you have had a tiring day, a day of very many lectures, and I know you want to prepare supper. A few of you will want to take care of their children. You have been away for the whole day, and you were, well, maybe they were sitting with the nanny or your nannies, and they want now your care. So I promise that I'm not going to take long. This one is just going. I'm going to use this lesson to make sure that I give you the main highlights of what we were doing yesterday. It is very, very important because I don't want you to miss on that. Trufena Botibori, tell me, kindly comment on my voice. If you are getting me loud and clear, comment on it so that I know whether to adjust or to continue the way I'm continuing. How is my voice? Since none of you, okay, it is clear, thank you. If it is clear, then we can continue. I've said that. I just want to give you a recap of what we were doing yesterday. I don't want to take a long time. So, yesterday, we looked at the social science perspective in the development of comparative education. We looked at social science perspective in the development of comparative education. And I remember having said that this phase lasted from the end of the Second World War, which took place in 1945 to present. That is the period that covers social science perspective. And needless to say, that even this era, because we have said to present, even to this day that I'm talking, so we are still in the era of social science perspective. Now, I said, well, I'm not going to add anything new, but I want to give you a recap of what we did so that it becomes very clear to you, so that you don't doubt anything. I say that since the end of the Second World War in 1945, there was increased interest in comparative education. From that time, that is 1945, that is at the end of the Second World War, there was a dramatic development in comparative education. That increase in comparative education developed dramatically in two main respects. And you have to know that. How did it develop? It developed in two main aspects. Friends, I'm not giving you summary for nothing. I just want you to know because each of these stages had its own characteristics, and you have to identify these characteristics without confusing one for the other. So, during the period of social science perspective, which started as from 1945, during the end of the Second World War to present, there was interest in comparative education, or the interest in comparative education increased dramatically in two main aspects. In how many aspects? Two main aspects. The first aspect, the first aspect, get me very clearly. The first aspect was the work of influential national and international agencies that are involved in educational inquiry, planning, and educational program implementation. I want to repeat, I want to repeat this. That since the end of the Second World War in 1945, interest in comparative education developed dramatically in two main respects. The first respect was that the work of influential national and international agencies that are involved in educational inquiry, planning, and educational program implementation really increased. And in these associations, there were those educational comparativists who saw the field as the most productive future in terms of more active involvement in international projects. So, according to them, this field was going to improve, was going to develop, and the future of this field or the future of comparative education was going to improve, was going to improve in terms of active involvement in international agencies. That the comparative educationists was supposed to involve themselves in international agencies. And you remember I mentioned these international agencies, that more educationists were being involved or were getting involved in international and national projects. Get it very clearly that the first respect in which interest in comparative education improved is that the work of national and international agencies, the work of influential national and international agencies involved in the educational inquiry, planning, and educational program implementation really increased. So, in these associations, there were those educational comparativists who saw this field of comparative education as most productive future in terms of more active involvement in these international agencies or in these national agencies. Remember, we are not just talking about national agencies, but we are also talking about international agencies. So that one has to come out very clearly, especially those ones who are planning on this area. This one has to come out. These two respects must come out very clearly. So another one is that there was increased activity in the study and teaching of comparative education in colleges and universities. Remember, before, this field was being confused with the economics of education, was also being confused with sociology of education. Others were confusing it with geography, with the philosophy, and with these other fields. But now, during this phase, the phase between the end of the Second World War to present, the phase that we are referring to as the social science perspective, social science perspective, I've said that there was increased activity in the study of comparative education. There was increased activity in the teaching of comparative education in educational colleges and also in universities. So these are the two main things, two main weeks. You can Google this and you'll get this work, the work of Getao. So Getao is GETAO, Getao 1996. This is a comparative educationist who compiled this, who wrote about this. So if you want to know more about this, read about Getao 1996. Getao 1996 enumerated several characteristics of this contemporary era. He said that there was explosion of knowledge, especially in science and technology. So this one was another characteristic. But there were other characteristics that were enumerated by Getao 1996. These ones, we listed them as follows. This is what we said, that there was drive are hungry for knowledge. People are hungry for globalization. And that is why very many people are going abroad for education. When we talk about globalization, that is how we are viewing. I'm talking about this view of the world as a global village. Recently, you saw agitations in Eldoret, people were complaining money. Their parents sold land, sold pieces of land, so that they could be taken or so they could be airlifted, was it to Finland? And that journey has since aborted. So why are they leaving this country for to go and seek for education in Finland? Why are people going for education in Australia? Why are people going to USA or UK for education? It is because of this increased drive for knowledge and globalization. People feel want to learn and learn. People want to know more, and not only from our end here, but also globally. They want to know, to go and seek for knowledge from other parts of the world. Secondly, this is another characteristic of this period, that there was drive for liberty of human rights by UNESCO in 1948. Get me clearly that the second point here, the second characteristic is that proclamation, proclamation of human rights by UNESCO in 1948. The second characteristic, the second characteristic is what we are referring to as the drive for liberty. The drive for liberty with the proclamation of human rights by UNESCO in 1948. The second characteristic, I repeat, the second characteristic is that drive for liberty with the proclamation of human rights by UNESCO in 1948. So, people want to be at liberty. People want to be free. They are agitating for liberty. And during this era, the, the UNESCO declared or UNESCO proclaimed that human rights, human beings have the rights to freedom, or they are free, they have freedom, that these rights are not given by anybody, that these rights are not given by any government, that these rights are not given by any institution, but you are born with your rights. So this was just proclaimed by UNESCO. Remember, these human rights are not being given to you or to us by UNESCO. It is only that UNESCO proclaimed that human beings have liberty, and this proclamation was made in 1948. So that was the second characteristic of this period. Now, there was a third characteristic of this period. This was urbanization as a result of industrialization. Those who have done history in high school, you know what urbanization is. So there was explosion or emergency of urban centers, and these urban centers grew as a result of industrialization. Remember, this is being based on Europe. This is being based on Europe. So we are saying that urbanization grew, there was urbanization, and this urbanization came as a result of industrialization because as many industries and factories grew, so did the urban centers. So there was urbanization, and this urbanization was as a result of industrialization. This was the third characteristic. Aisha, I can see you. Mukhwana, I can see you. Ratemo, we also have Sonia, Mercy. I'm keeping the records. Brenda, Dorothy, Hillary, we have Ruto Donald, Evelyn, Namiti, Edgar, Alunya. We are keeping those records so that you people, when you talk of missing mark, I'll be able to refer to these records, and I know that you are attending classes. Okay. There was another characteristic. There was another characteristic, and this was the fourth one. This was population explosion. There was population explosion due to the development of medical science, where 50% of the population was and is under 20 years. So we are saying that this social science perspective era saw improvement in medical services. You will agree with me that we have very many hospitals here in Eldoret. We have good hospitals such as Medihill, we have Real, we have very many Eldoret hospital, we have St. Luke's, we have Eldoret referral. All these ones, we have just mentioned a few, but we are saying that during this period there was improvement, there was and is improvement in medical services. And due or as a result of this improvement in medical science, population explosion grew. There was population explosion of very many people were born and were living because improvement in medical facilities will also improve will also lead to improvement in chances of survival when a child is born. So those children who are chances of children who are born, chances of these children surviving and seeing tomorrow are very high. So we are saying that the fourth characteristic of this period is explosion, and this population explosion was and is as a result of development in medical science. You people may be wondering why I'm using both the was and the is. But those ones who are here from the beginning of the lesson, remember I said that this period started at the end or at the end of the Second World War, which was in 1945, and it is still there up to present, up to this day that we are talking about, up to this day that we are having this lecture. So I'm saying that the fourth characteristic is and was population explosion. And I'm saying that this population explosion was and is as a result of development in medical science. I've also said that 50% of the population is under 20, and these people are able to survive, to live because of improvement in medical science. Now, there is another characteristic, and this is the fifth one that I said yesterday, and you have to put it into your mind that there was drive for the reconstruction of peace to facilitate material, moral, and spiritual reconstruction. This is to help in removing suspicion and distrust among nations and promote goodwill and cooperation among nations of the world. The fifth characteristic of this period, we are saying that there was and there is drive for the reconstruction of peace to facilitate material, moral, and spiritual reconstruction. And we are saying that this period or these characteristics is very important because it helps in removing suspicion between states, distrust among nations, and it promotes goodwill and cooperation among nations. You know, do you know why East African community has stagnated over a period of time? We are not moving. Why? Because there is a lot of suspicion between Uganda and Kenya, Tanzania and Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. And most of the East African countries are suspicious of Kenya. So we are saying that during this period, the period of social science perspective, we are saying that there is and there was drive for reconstruction of peace to facilitate material, moral, and spiritual reconstruction. It removes distrust among nations. It promotes goodwill among nations, and it also improves cooperations between different nations. Now, what are the outcomes of all these efforts? One, there is now greater effort towards democratization of education to make it available to all as a way of ensuring a reasonable good life. Two, there is diversification. We diversify education. Education is being diversified to serve and suit all societies and communities of the world. And thirdly, there is a greater concern and a greater effort towards provision of quality education for the purpose of progress of societies, communities, and individuals. And lastly, it has also resulted into the creation of international organization. These efforts have resulted in the creation of international organizations such as UNESCO, UNICEF, WHO, and UNEP in order to promote human welfare. Friends, today we were just giving a summary of what we learned under social science perspective in the development of education. I want you people to get these things very clearly. Tomorrow we are meeting in class as usual. We shall be meeting between 5 and 7. Those people who are given assignments, make sure that you are ready to present. Um, I'll only be giving 5 minutes per group, so make sure that you are ready. Thank you for attending my classes, and the fellows who have religiously been attending these classes. They are always there. They are always there, and you will not lie. They are always there. Whenever you start, they are always there. Somebody like Trofena Wachibori, you you are always the first one to join this class. And that one I've really noticed. I've really noticed that in all our classes, you are usually the first one to join. So I call upon the rest to make sure that they also keep time. I've always told you that it is easy to know. Just ask Bosibori. She will tell you. Trufena will tell you how she knows that the class is there. Simply subscribe and you will always be notified. You will always be notified when the class is there or when something new has been posted. You will be the first one to be notified. So subscribe and you'll be notified. Like our videos, make sure that you like them, and that will be okay. Um, I want to wish you well, Noreen. You joined in late, but that is okay. It is better to be late than never. Jacqueline Chintai, Alan Juma, Donald, that is okay. Now, I wish you well. Uh, Go and take care of your babies, those who have babies, and those who are others. Make sure that you prepare a nice supper, and don't forget to eat ugali and sukuma wiki, because we are Kenyans. Okay, bye. Have a good evening. Let's meet tomorrow.